Our sermon title today is How Should We Give? And I don't know about you, but the word should at times just sends shudders down my spine because it's a strong word. It carries with it an ethical and a moral imperative. It creates these buckets of people, the shoulds and the shan'ts. You know, you're either in or you're out. It can make you feel like about this tall. Let me give you an example. You know, before, way back when, we used to have Sunday dinner. I mean, way back when I was just but a young warthog or whatever, however that song goes. I was small. We used to have Sunday dinner. It used to be the dinner, the absolute meal of the week. You wouldn't miss it. Well, I couldn't miss it because I didn't have any choice. But, I mean, you wouldn't want to miss it even if you could, right? And you would either have the two meats. You would have either roast beef or you'd have fried chicken. Those would be the two meats. And you'd always have mashed potatoes. And then if you had roast beef, you had brown gravy. Fried chicken, you had white gravy that was made over from the drippings of the morning's fried food. Can I get an amen? I mean, some of you know what I'm talking about, right? You'd always have cream corn, because cream corn is God's gift to humanity. It makes everything much better. Cream corn. Okay? Then there'd always be the vegetable. And the vegetable would be something like beets. You know? And I don't know about you, but I think the beets were after the fall. I don't think it was God's good creation at all. I think the beet is a sure sign that there's sin in the world and that we need redemption. Because, and if you're a beet lover, please no emails this week, okay? And if you're a kid here, eat your beets. I don't want to get a tag for that. But there'd be beets on my plate. And so what I'd end up doing, because I was smart, I was so with it. What I would do is towards the end of the meal, I'd spread the beets out a little bit, you know, and then I'd take my napkin and I'd place my napkin over the beets, because no one would notice that ever. No one notices that you put your napkin across your beets, and that means they're gone. As far as I'm concerned, if I can't see them, they're gone. And invariably, and I won't name names. She may watch this later, but she would look across the table and go, "You really should eat your beets." And at that moment, I think I just have no worth in this world because I don't like beets, and I should eat them. You know, if it was, you know, I was reading the New England Journal of Medicine this week, and beets are just good for your digestive tract. I could have accepted that because I'd have said, you know, well, then I just choose to have a bad digestive tract. But no, it was, you really should eat your beets. And there, it raised it to the level of our national defense in my eternal destination, you know, and eating beets, it's all in the same. The word should, it's 6 letters, and it carries with it a powerful connotation. And I want, please, to hear me this morning. When we talk about how should we give, I do not want to be drawing lines in the sand. I don't want to be saying here's some people that get it and some people that don't. Can we all agree on that? We are all trying to be faithful to what God has placed before us. And so we all struggle through this. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. And yet we continue forward. And that's what the spirit of this morning is about. It's not to beat you up. It's not to be able to say these people get it and these people don't. It's to be able to say that unashamedly, God has a divine plan of giving. And like we said last week, if we want to get on God's page, we need to understand how God sees giving and how God uses giving to bless not only us, but those around us. Are we okay? Wonderful. No one's gotten up and no one's picked up a beet to throw me. I think we're in really good shape to move forward. We're going to use John 6, 1 through 13, that passage where Jesus fed 5,000 men. More than likely there was double or triple that amount between women and children that were there as well. It's a huge crowd that Jesus fed, and sometimes we get all caught up in the spirit of it. Wow, look at an amazing miracle. And you'd have to think for a minute, the miracle wouldn't have taken place unless that boy on that hillside had given up those 5 loaves and the 2 fish. It was that boy's gift that allowed God's power to work through Jesus to feed and to bless all those people. To not only to bless them, but to bless us as we talk about it even this day. He had no idea what he was about to do when he gave those 5 loaves and 2 fish to Jesus. And yet Jesus did something amazing that we're learning from even this day. So let's look at that boy's gift. And let's see how maybe we should give. What's God's divine plan for giving? You are generous people. So this isn't about a beat you up sermon, give more money or anything else. This is about us getting on God's divine giving plan. And using this boy as our model, our example. You see, the first thing that we notice is that this boy, he took these loaves and this fish, and he realized he didn't own them. He was the steward of them. He was the steward of them. His mother had given them to him early that morning. And they were his nourishment for the day. He realized it was a gift from his mother that he was carrying with him. And in so doing, he teaches us something about stewardship. You see, the first thing I think we need to realize as we get on God's page for giving is that we are stewards of all that God gives us instead of owners of all we have. And let me say that a different way. I think at first we need to come to some conclusion among ourselves. Do we own our stuff, or does God own our stuff? And in our culture, a Western culture, where we have been bred from the beginning to work hard, that we deserve everything we have, there's sometimes the mentality that we take on is, well, that's mine. That's my bank account. This is my home. This is my fill in the blank. And yet we fail to realize and recognize it is God that gave us gifts and talents that we were able to go and earn. It was God who had given to us in the very beginning. See, this boy couldn't have ever claimed that this was his fish and loaves because he knew that his mother had given it to him. Are we the same with those things in our lives? Do we claim them as we own them, or do we acknowledge that it's been God who's blessed us? Absolutely, we've worked hard. Absolutely, we've saved. All those things are valid. But in the end, it is God who has given. And so we become stewards and not owners. We become those who are looking for ways to pass on and to use what God has given us to the greatest glory for God and those around us. Remember last week we talked about we live in this stream of blessings that come from God and they flow. And we stand in the middle of the stream and we are asked to be conduits and pipelines. Not only do we get blessed, but we're asked to be pipeline that we can carry these blessings to others around us. And the question was, are we pipelines or are we dams? Do we block off that flow of God's blessings and create these beautiful lakes that we say, look how God's blessed us, and all the while downstream there is someone else that God had intended for these blessings to meet their needs as well? Are we pipelines carrying God's great gifts to those that God intends them to be used for, including us? We see clearly in this boy situation that he was. That he was a pipeline to carry these 5 loaves and 2 fish to the exact right place and to give them to the exact right person who would then bless them and do more than he could have ever done with them. If we are to be givers on God's divine plan, we understand that we are stewards and not owners.